Hello again. All right, let's dig into tip number 3. Think about what is next. Now, I want to give you a couple disclaimers before we go into this tip. The first disclaimer is this is not about teaching what's next. It's just about thinking about what's next. Disclaimer number 2, depending on how your writing instruction is set up, you may or may not be able to determine what your students are capable of doing and what they should be able to do next. If you are teaching writing that is very prompted, like if they're following a prompt, if they're writing about reading all the time, or if it's very heavily supported. So if you have everyone work on the same part of their writing at the same time, if you use graphic organizers and have them copy them, you might not be getting a very good picture of what your students are really able to do. So I just want to throw that out there before we go through and you think about trying this, okay? All right, so as we did the last 2 tips, we were talking about the compliment conference. And in the compliment conference, one of the most important things is to start that conversation with your writer about what it is that they're doing right now. This is considered like a research portion of your conference, and it's where you get that feedback from your students. You have an idea of what's going on. Also, looking at their work in and of itself is going to be able to give you an idea of what is happening. So you have already picked a compliment, so you're really looking at what they're doing well right now, right? What they're able to do. So now I want you to start moving on into thinking, what do you think they can do next? So based on what they're really doing well, where they kind of seem secure, where can we move them up one step as a writer to be able to help them to grow? Now, this doesn't necessarily mean teaching the next lesson in your writing unit, because that's just new information that you're doing with your unit, but it might not necessarily be what this student needs. So, for example, if your student is on the lower developmental end of their writing that whole group lesson that you're going to teach might not be in their zone of proximal development. So you might need to move them as a writer one step up, where it's actually several steps below what you might be teaching. And then for some writers, what you're going to teach in the mini lesson might be helpful, but there's no point in you just giving them that ahead of time. But there might be something else that you can teach them that you might not be teaching other writers. So in order to have an idea of what could be next, I want you to do a couple of things. One, I want you to rely on what you know about good writing and about the type of writing that you have seen in your grade level. And I want you to think about how your students are comparing to that and try to determine if there's a strategy you can teach them or something new you can show them about writing. And then the second thing you can do, there are multiple resources out there that could help to guide you in the progression of writing. So I do invite you to kind of do some research and look some things up with that. If you're using some kind of writing series or program, they might provide something that would be helpful. But one thing that I found very helpful is the hierarchy of writing goals from Jennifer Saravallo. Now, I'm going to tell you that what I'm about to show you does not look like her writing goals. Now, it's not because I think that Jennifer Saravallo should change anything, because she's wonderful and amazing, and I've learned so much from her. However, when I decided to make this, I just thought about conversations that I've had with teachers when we have used the writing hierarchy and the way that we kind of think about these goals, and I decided to actually write them in a backwards way. So